I just knew how valuable it would be for people to actually walk through an entire Osteen sermon.
Yeah.
Because they would just go, oh, I didn't realize what he was doing until I sat through an analysis of his whole video. I get contacted by a guy who says, I know Joel Osteen personally.
Now, the Benny Hinn situation was fascinating to me.
Yeah, he's truly evil.
It's time to give. It's time to bless the Lord's work, isn't it?
You think that's intentional? You think he's intentionally manipulating people like that? Or do you think he's just self-deluded to the point where he believes it?
Ruslan.
You had a situation, a couple of big situations. One was with Joel Osteen. And I was trying to throw the battery in your back because I was like, let's go to war. If he comes after Mike, we're gonna raise money and go to war. And you exhibited such beautiful fruit of the spirit.
I hope so. I hope that was the right choice. Tough call. Tough call. But I had a ton of people say, so for anybody who doesn't know, Joel Osteen, I made this video on Joel Osteen. It did really well. It was getting, in 4 months, I think it was 4 months, it got 700-something thousand views. And right after I uploaded the video, Osteen, whatever company he pays to monitor his copyright stuff, they claimed it. And they just wanted the ad revenue.
Which you gave.
And I thought it was hilarious. I was like, this is a perfect deal, man. You guys want money? You tell me you want money? You can have the ad revenue. I don't even care. That's fine. So they got the ad revenue for months. And then I get contacted by somebody. I don't know if I've shared all these details, but so here we go. I get contacted by a guy who says, I know Joel Osteen personally. And I thought you did such a good job critiquing his ministry. You were gracious, you treat him as a brother, but you offered legitimate critiques and you gave evidence. And he says, I want to show him your video. I think it may change something for him. And I said, that's great. And he goes, yeah, I'll let you know what happens. Within like 2 days, my video is pulled off the internet.
Petty Joe.
And I tried to reach out to the guy. Hey, so what happened? And he just ghosts me. And so, long story short, I think he showed it to Joel and he was upset and he instructed people to remove it. And so then it was removed and I've tried to fight it and it was rejected. And it is a little questionable. Like, do I have fair use grounds? Maybe like 55, 60% yes. I think I talked to a lawyer about it and he was like, I think maybe 70% yes. And he goes, but you don't want to go to court with 70%. Like, you don't know who you're going to get, what judge.
Why was he saying you didn't have 100% fair use?
So I used like something like 95% of his video. So quantity of the original used. Was it transformative? Yes. Was it all? It checks a lot of the boxes, but I used such a huge portion of it because, and I did this knowing that it might be a problem with copyright. I just knew how valuable it would be for people to actually walk through an entire Osteen sermon. Because they would just go, oh, I didn't realize what he was doing until I sat through an analysis of his whole video. So that got pulled down. And I ended up just saying, you know what? I don't want to go to court over this. I don't want to have a lawsuit among brethren over this issue. So I pulled out. Later, I wondered, he's done this to other people too. It's not just me. Anyway, so I still sometimes kind of wonder back and forth if I should rethink that. But I would only do it if I felt like it was what was morally the right thing to do as a Christian. Because, don't drag your brother before the world.
Right.
It says.
Well, he would have been the one dragging you before the world.
Technically, he would have been the one dragging.
It wouldn't have been you suing him. It would have been him suing you.
Right.
Yeah. I just met a youth pastor from their church.
Oh, yeah?
Huge fan. Loves
really?
what I do. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
He's like, he's really helped me, think about stuff critically and
theologically. Awesome. That's awesome.
And I was just like, oh, that's so funny. You know?
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. Tell him I said hi.
Yeah. It was.
And I don't hold anything against him.
Yeah. Well, what I appreciated about how you navigated that situation is one, you just wanted to be above reproach. You did not call him a wolf. You did not call him a bad guy. You didn't you weren't slanderous. Like you were very, I always say like I've kind of shifted a bit away from, I don't know what you want to call it, discernment ministry or whatever, just because I'm too. I'll joke and I'll roast people and it's funny but that's not the spirit in terms of how you should handle other brothers and be delicate. And I feel like you have the perfect temperament to do a video like that and come off gentle and come off kind, but then be firm when you need to be firm, And so I always say, man, like people in the discernment ministry community, I'm like, hey, like Mike Winger's your gold standard. Like you want to do discernment ministry stuff, like look at his videos and try to do him that way because at the very least, you could be charitable, you could believe the best, but you could still be truthful to it, you know? And I think you did a great job with the Joel thing. Now, the Benny Hinn situation was fascinating to me because this was the first time, spoiler alert, YouTube takes your side
Yeah.
in one of these weird disputes.
When do they do that?
I've never heard of that. They didn't have my back when I went with the Joe Rogan situation.
Yeah.
And they took your side. Did you had a great conversation with Charisma about some of this stuff.
Right.
How did that play out? And was there ever a reach out or any type of, because that escalated to, I think you said a bad man. And I don't know if you called him a wolf, but that was definitely like your language was, okay,
yeah.
this is not just dangerous. This is like full on heresy.
Yeah, he's truly evil. It feels now we're going from one bad problem after another.
Sure.
Like you said, I don't normally talk back to back this much about negative individuals, but Benny Hinn is like I say, he's a very bad man. But I did a video that was meant to be an expose of his ministry. It started as me just saying, has Benny Hinn repented? Because was it a year ago?
They said he's repented multiple times for multiple false teachings.
It got in the news not too long ago, year, 2 years, something, I forget now.
Yep.
And it was like, hey, he's really repented. He even said the prosperity gospel has gone too far and all this stuff. And everybody cheered him on. And then people asked me, I got all these questions. Did Benny Hinn repent? And I was silent for like over a year, just not even bringing it up because I don't know. Like, I don't know. I hope. But I hadn't looked into it. I didn't realize he had done this cycle over and over again through the years. For 30 years, he's been pretending to repent whenever he gets in the news too much. And so I looked at the video of the current stuff he's doing, demonstrating that he's not only not repented, he's just doubling down. So I just went whole hog, and I made a whole, like, I forget, was it 3-hour video?
About 3-4 hours. Yeah.
On Benny Hinn, showing clips and footage of everything. I had hundreds of hours of his content that I had to sift through to do that. And before I put it out, I reached out to his ministry and I was like, hey, I'm going to be doing this. Would you like to show me where I'm wrong on something before I do? And I got crickets, no response. And I meant that sincerely. Now, I didn't talk about that in the video because I'm not trying to get pat on the back over it. But I put the video out. Benny Hinn finds out about it. They try to remove it. I find out that they're trying to remove it because they did 2 rounds of attempts to remove. The second time they're like, no, we're telling you, YouTube, you have to take this down. And that's when they forwarded it to me. And they go, now we're going to forward this whole dialogue we've had with Benny Hinn's representative, who's like, I'm doing this on behalf of Benny Hinn. And they sent it to me as well. And then said, we rejected it. We're going to leave your content up, which was amazing.
It's crazy.
I was super careful because, you can do it differently. Sometimes you're more careful than others when you're using copyrighted content.
Yep.
I was super careful. I kept interrupting it. I kept cutting it. I would cut out little seconds, moments here and there. If I had to play a long clip, it would be butchered just so that it would be, you couldn't say it would replace the original, And I was very careful for this whole long thing, and it ended up working out really well. And they would not take it down. So that was fantastic. I was really excited to see that. And sadly, for the most part, he just continues doing the same thing. He didn't care at all.
Yeah.
I would see him repent again, say, I'm not going to do this in one setting when he's over at Jesus Image Church or something. And then he comes on his own channel because he figures they're not watching it.
Yeah.
And then he does the exact thing he says for them not to do.
Yeah. The frustrating part is in that I would have conversations with people privately, and they'd be like, yeah, we know, like he's a little off, he's a little kooky, and then like publicly they'd be like, no, we love him, he's great. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, that's deception, man.
Yeah, so that part, again, I didn't like that, and I think that he has some issues. I think a lot of this stuff is more self-deception. Like I think these guys are self-deceived.
I totally believe that. That's the way I will often, I get in trouble for it all the time. I'll say, I think so-and-so is sincere.
Yeah.
And people think I mean he's being truthful or he's speaking real true things.
Right.
And I go, no. Like, Jack the Ripper may have been sincere.
Yep.
You can be sincere and be horrible.
Yep.
We're just talking about what kind of bad are you?
Yeah.
Are you Satan is sincere in his attempt to usurp the throne of God.
Yeah.
Okay. He's sincere about it. It doesn't mean that it's good. And at any rate, we've got this issue with Benny Hinn. I have someone contact me and tell me privately, I want to show my friend, I couldn't talk to the person. He goes, you know who he is. I wish I could tell you his name. And he says, but my friend, he has an inside with Benny Hinn personally. And he thinks your video made a bunch of really great points, and he wants to show it to Benny Hinn, but none of them in that circle will ever watch your video. They'll never even look at it. So he goes, can you send me the footage, all the clips that you use? So I spend all this time pulling just the clips out, I send him the clips, and then I never heard back. I finally called him and said, hey, how did it turn out? He goes, yeah, it didn't go good. So here's the thing. Benny Hinn is a con artist. He has conned even the people in his close circles to think he's the most sincere, godly, Christ-loving, so that someone in his tight circle goes, if only he could see this footage and he'd see, and then he would know, because I believe in him. Because even that guy has the wool pulled over his eyes, you know? That when you finally expose everything, that's when you find out what kind of real people
You think that's intentional? You think he's intentionally manipulating people like that? Or do you think he's just self-deluded to the point where he believes it?
I'm guessing there's some combination of the two.
Yeah.
You know, when people manipulate others, they usually just feel like it's justified. They feel like, no, I have a good reason for this. You know, and Benny Hinn is a control freak, so he's going to think he has to control everybody, all they think. That's my impression of him.
Yeah.
I've spent enough time watching his content and looking at it where I'm not just shooting from the hip here.
Yeah.
If you watch him on stage, he controls every aspect of everything.
Yeah.
Choir, do this. You do this. Cameraman, go over here.
Yeah.
Pick that person up, knock them back down, take them over here. Everything is hyper controlling.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to go to the Patreon only extended version of this conversation. It's a little too much for YouTube. So consider signing up for a free 7-day trial where you could see the entire conversation and get access to all of our future podcasts, be able to interact with our guests, and much more. Here's a little preview of what's available on Patreon. I'll see you over there.
The Catholic apologetics that I see and the Orthodox apologetics that I see is often just really misleading. And so if you have a surface level version of, let me be fair, Catholicism or Orthodox or Protestant views, it's going to be decimated by the other side when you encounter them. Some of the Marian dogmas, they do not trace back to the 1st century. They don't trace back to the 2nd century. And what you can do is you can then quote mine and find someone saying something good about Mary. And you're like, yeah, but is that the dogma? And then you go, well, there's development.
It's just when it gets into little broing you, you know? Like, oh, it's like, I think you're saved. It's cute, you know? But like, you're in the wrong church. You don't have a valid communion.
I recognize I have traditions.
Yes.
I'm saying I'm not going to put my traditions on you and demand that you obey them and follow them.
Yes.
Like, just recognize what it is and call it what it is. Anyway, I don't offend people.
Ruslan.